Welcome back, everyone, to Isla's Army. We still haven't quite updated the intro yet to be Isla relevant, but it will be changed very, very soon. I am really looking forward today and have been for a long time. We are going to have a delectable medley of fundraising splendor today, and we have been joined by Rory. Welcome, and thank you for coming on today, mate.
Well, if I'd known that was the intro, I've just sat through an incredibly West Ham-based intro. If I'd known that was going to happen, we would have had to have a very different discussion.
Mate, I've got to ask before we carry on anyway. Rory, don't worry about that. Where have you pulled them words from, Frankie? I'm still confused with what you've actually just said. I'm like Googling to see what it actually means.
I've got that thesaurus. You know where you can get a different word of the day.
So that is
on the kitchen roll, just a different word of the day. You've got to get it in.
I'm not going to lie. Now, that is Rory's introduction. He's very famous for those words. If people don't know, I'm not even going to lie. I did have to Google them when I was typing them into the video description just to check that the spelling was correct. So
I thought you had a dictionary for breakfast this morning or something. Where's that come from?
It is, mate. I love it. I just love what you have brought to the footballing YouTube world. Is such a different dynamic. I love it on the kickoff, and I have obviously been following your shows on YouTube, and it's been an incredible journey. And the growth for you, mate, has been phenomenal up until this point. So really good.
Oh, mate, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's taken nobody more by surprise than me. But yeah, thank you. I think it's due largely, I mean, if not entirely, to the unilateral and aggressive support of the boys on the kickoff, really. So, I'm fully aware and fully grateful for everything they've done. But yeah, nobody more surprised by it than me. But thank you for those kind words.
I think you're underestimating it. I think it was the breakout into the unbelievable lyrical genius that you decided to spit on Expressions show the other week. That was out of nowhere, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, do you know what that is, though? That's just basically an admission of being slightly older, isn't it? To the average person on YouTube, all you've really done there. As soon as you start talking about Skibadee or something like that, everyone goes, hang on a minute, he's not as young as I think he is.
I'm going to start doing this then, because I'm 40 and I need to start getting down with the crew, I think, because I'm getting past it. But I've got Grahammy and everything now.
No, that's distinguished though, mate. As soon as I saw you, I thought that. For God, that fella's got a fantastic, magnificently distinguished beard.
Yeah, and then you see this and you think he's been on top. That is anorexic. But it's anorexic and the wing backs are deep. He's had it. No chance.
It's all good. So today, mate, if people don't know, because we're going to have a real new audience joining today from your following, and we just want to let everybody know what this channel is all about. So this channel is here and it exists for Isla. Me and Baz used to have a channel called Claret and Blue Army TV. We raised that up to a couple of thousand subscribers, and we used to enjoy doing videos on West Ham. However, Baz has been raising funds for Isla for the last sort of 4 years. Used to go up and down the length of the country with buckets outside football games, home and away, and doing everything that he could to help Isla get the treatment that she needed. She had a real positive turnaround and come back to the UK. She was having treatment in Spain. She come back to the UK and everything was looking pretty good. So fundraising stopped. Unfortunately, she's relapsed at the moment and she has a number of issues that we need to deal with. And it's looking like there's no treatment left on the NHS. So we need to get her back out to Spain, potentially America. We're not 100% sure yet. And each round of treatment that she will have in those countries is like £80,000. So it's an incredible amount of money that you need for each treatment. She's only 6 years old. She's an incredible fighter, but we're in that stage again at the moment where we need to start doing something to help her get the treatment that she so desperately needs. So this channel was then set up. Me and Baz took the ego away from it and said, right, we're going to close down Claret and Blue Army TV. We're going to completely rebrand and change it all to Isla's Army. The idea is we want to get this channel up to the same subscriber base as what we used to have and beyond. We want to try and get that channel monetized. Every single penny, and we do mean that, every single penny that this channel will generate all goes to Isla and her fight. Me and Baz will never take a penny from it. Everything we raise through fundraising, by the link at the bottom of the screen at the moment, through the raffles that we're doing, through any money that the channel may generate, if we can get to the stage where we can get super chats coming in, all of that stuff will all go directly to Isla. We will never take a penny. And that's what we're here to do today. We're here to try and raise some funds. Obviously, we know Rory has a good Chelsea following, being a Chelsea fan. And what we do have available today, which we will keep raising throughout, is a signed captain's armband from none other than John Terry. He's standing there holding the Premier League trophy with that. It's an absolute fantastic item. So we're going to be doing an auction for that. If people would like to put in a bid to win the captain's armband, please DM or comment on Twitter, and that will submit your bid, or you can also bid in the chat as well today. So we'll keep promoting that throughout. There will be some other things going on, but there we go. One place I want to start, Rory, with discussion-wise and start to break down is the man Frank Lampard, because affiliation to both clubs, obviously a lot has gone on with him and your club at the moment, and I was watching the videos that you were putting out at that time and obviously was very disappointed at the way it ended. However, now Tuchel's had an incredible start and seems to be having quite a positive effect very, very early on. What's your standpoint on that now? Do you still think it was harsh and actually it was a longer term project, or are you now seeing that maybe he wasn't the right man for the job?
I don't think that anything I've seen in Tuchel...
Sorry. Just quickly, someone asked about the bid. That armband, there's a reserve bid of £350 on that. Just so you know, someone's just asked for the bid, and I don't want someone to come in with like £20 for argument's sake. There is a £350 reserve on that, just so you're aware. Sorry, Rory.
No, that's sound. I thought that you were just going to try and get your feelings on Frank Lampard in first.
Mate, you ain't got point.
I'm sure you're very different to mine.
Not if you to talk about Frank Lampard.
No, look, the way I think it went with the Lampard sacking, I think it was a disgrace. Nothing will change my mind that it was a wrong decision, and I think that the way that the club handled it was truly inconsiderate and wholeheartedly wrong. That doesn't mean that I don't completely back Thomas Tuchel and rate the job that he has done so far. I obviously have full backing for him. I think that we'll win tonight. I like what I've seen so far. The way that he's conducted himself in interviews has been brilliant. And I'm really on board with this new manager. But at the very essence of this, it was born out of a wrong decision. Sacking Frank Lampard and Jody Morris when they had drastically overachieved. You know, they effectively got top four to the last 16 of the Champions League and to the FA Cup final with what wasn't much more than a youth team. They've then had their first blip and they've sacked them. It doesn't make any sense. But I do think the two need to be kind of seen in isolation, because when I have a go at the decision to sack Lampard, people go, "Oh, see, you're not on Tuchel's, you're not backing the manager, you're not backing the new manager," and I see the two very separate. I think it was wrong to sack Lampard. I totally back Thomas Tuchel.
So Baz has a little bit of an opinion on that situation, because you mentioned he's number two there. Baz, do you want to go into that a little bit and see if Rory agrees?
Yeah, I just think Lampard was a bit naive, personally. Listen, it's a dream job for him, and it would be a dream job for John Terry in years to come. And I think any Chelsea fan in the country, in the world, would want to see John Terry and Frank Lampard as 1 and 2 in that dugout one day. I just think Lampard taking that job, I don't think it was a wrong move at the time, because obviously Chelsea had the transfer embargo. I just don't think he helped himself while he was there. Leaving Jody Morris beside him as number 2, no real experience to guide him through in bad times, which he did have, I think is where he made a big mistake. It's nothing against Jody Morris. Listen, the man knows 500,000 times more about football than I. But you look at, he could have called his uncle. He could have had Harry Redknapp stood there with him. Sat there with him.
Do you know what? Do you know why they thought though? Do you know what the motivation? Look, with hindsight, I think it's the sensible conclusion that you've come to there. Frank Lampard would have been a better fit for Chelsea if he had a more experienced head to bounce ideas off. I mean, that's a fairly logical but easy way to look at it. I think the reason why we went for Jody Morris in that circumstance is, firstly, the relationship that they cultivated. You know, they are friends. They have a good working relationship. They'd worked together previously and they wanted to continue that going. But also, and crucially, Jody Morris achieved some fantastic things with our youth team. Record breaking. And because when they came in, Chelsea were going to be virtually reliant on the members of that youth team that Jody Morris had such success with, it made sense to have somebody alongside Lampard who knew how to get the best out of these kids.
Yeah, I get that. But then I'll ask you, Frank Lampard, we see the best out of Mason Mount last year and at Derby in the front three. We watched him get dropped to the middle three under Lampard this year, and we see a total different Mason Mount. We're now seeing a very good Mason Mount again, who's now back in that top three. And this is my point. I don't think a good coach would have allowed that. I think he had to play certain players, Lampard. Well, not had to, but I think he chose certain players through pressure. And I just think an older, experienced Ed would have sat there and said to him, don't be forced to change. Don't be forced to accommodate him into a middle three. Keep him where he's best. And that's why. And I did say this, and I know it's easy to say now. I've said this before. I also told Frankie when he was appointed at Tottenham, Jose Mourinho will not win a major trophy there. He will not bring glory days back there. And I don't believe that. I believe that because I don't believe he's got in himself now to adapt to modern football. He's one way. He's too stubborn. And if his way isn't working, that's the player's fault and the opposition's, not himself. And I think Lampard got that.
I think Lampard, though, was a victim of his own success because he overachieved, got into the Champions League. It meant that this club went out and had a £200 million splurge, signed the likes of Havertz, signed the likes of Timo Werner. They only come because Chelsea are in the Champions League. Frank Lampard, then he's got not far off £200 million worth of talent in two players. He has to. You can't not play them. Yeah, so I think his natural thing to do was probably to keep the midfield as it was. But you can't do that when you've got the record signing at the club. So you have to try and play him. And ultimately, he was a victim of his own success. I think that history will be very kind to Frank Lampard's time at Chelsea. I think now people like to be sneery. And he's not a universally, particularly in London, Frank Lampard isn't a particularly popular character because he was so successful at Chelsea. He was so unpopular at West Ham. When you're that popular, when you play for Chelsea and West Ham, Tottenham fans are never going to like you at the best of times. But then when you've had such success at Chelsea, they're definitely not going to like you. So I think that I saw enough in him to say that he's a good manager. And I tell you what actually is non-negotiable. Frank Lampard lasted 18 months as Chelsea manager. That's ages. You've got to be a good manager to last that long at our club. So I think
was
he'll
the
do
final
well.
straw? Was it the fact that the board know that Champions League football is everything at Chelsea financially? For the amount they spend, everything else in terms of they don't want to get themselves into a transfer embargo situation again. If you didn't have that Champions League money coming in and there was any doubt whatsoever that Champions League football wasn't coming to Chelsea next season, that was the moment where, regardless of who the manager was, they would have always had to make a change.
Do you know what? I don't know. I think that's probably true, but I would also say that I don't think it made a difference what Frank Lampard did. The second that just before Christmas, do you remember when the news came from Paris that Tuchel was sacked? When that news dropped, that was the end of Frank Lampard's time at Chelsea. Like the club only ever really saw Lampard as a stopgap to navigate them out of a transfer ban. And the second that the Rolls Royce of a manager, the proven track record, the Champions League finalists, impressive record in the Bundesliga, as soon as that fellow became available, Frank Lampard was done for. Do you know, the only thing that people like us who kind of talk about football all day and invest in the game consistently for our lives, we were done. The second happened, we should have all gone, Frank, in trouble here.
And to be fair, I've said it, and I've said it to you, Frankie, enough many times. I feel for Lampard because I didn't want him to lose that legendary reputation he's got at Chelsea by a bad managerial role. I don't think he done particularly bad. I don't, if I'm honest. I think the league's a lot tougher now. And I
don't think that's happened, though.
It ain't. But obviously, you see some things on social media that, listen,
but that's the problem. That's the problem. What's happened is now, because nobody's in football stadiums, the only place that you can garner any full understanding of the support base and how people are feeling about things is social media, because you can't go to Stamford Bridge in front of 42,000 people. If you could, there would be no debate as to the way that Frank Lampard is viewed, because we can't, and we've got to look on social media, and you can give any idiot a voice. It's more difficult.
I'm going to rewind that slightly now, and go on, Baz, if there's one more point.
He's turning to Craig David.
I'm going to get a rewind. So we rewind. Hey, I've got it all, mate. I can do it. Don't worry about that. Going back to.
Am I in there?
You're in the gang, mate. You're in the gang. Going back to his ending at West Ham United, and I see, at the time, I was a young boy. I didn't really understand why there was so much hatred when people leave your club. Paul Ince, I wasn't around in the Paul Ince era, and him leaving.
West Ham fans are fantastic for that, aren't they? West Ham fans are fantastic for just like an irrational hatred. The thing that really made me laugh. Do you remember when Tom Ince came back to play and got booed?
He got absolutely obliterated. And most people there wouldn't have had a clue why. We wouldn't have had a clue why. But I'm still there, giving it a large. I haven't got a clue why I'm doing it. But it's just one thing that West Ham does.
No club in the world love an irrational hatred more than West Ham United. I think it's a quality as well. I think I like it.
Yeah, no, and it is all part of the fun and banter at West Ham, and it's what it's all about. And we do take it. I remember when David Beckham got sent off in the World Cup. Next thing you know, the first game, we had dummies being hung. We had all sorts of stuff like it. We take it to some serious levels with the hatred side of things.
We do not forget. That is,
clearly,
that should be the motto, shouldn't it?
We don't forget.
Get rid of that Academy of Football and just get in. We don't forget.
We don't forget. That's it. Perfect. So that time, obviously, I remember we had a first bid come in, and if Kent Hammers is in, hello Kent, the stato of West Ham United football knowledge, there is no man that knows the pinpoint, the minute, the time, the date that an event happened in West Ham. That man knows it. It's incredible. But we had an initial bid for Frank Lampard from a club that was £7 million. And I remember at the time, West Ham fans screaming, saying, what a bid that is. Take the money, take the money. We didn't take it. We obviously had the infamous interview with Harry Redknapp where a fan went off at him and he said, I'm telling you, he's going to the top. Scotty Canham, absolutely. So we had all that situation as well. And at the time, West Ham fans were just saying, take the money for him, cash in, roll the dice and go again. Leeds. So Leeds agreed a fee, Frank Kent, for Lampard originally, and then he didn't end up moving there. I don't think we ever appreciated the level that Frank Lampard would go to all the time he played for West Ham United. But all the people who did know him knew how hard he worked. There was stories that he would stay after training because he was told he wasn't fast enough. So he literally worked on his sprint speed continuously after training to get himself to that top level. And then obviously Chelsea's bid come in for 11 million. And it was like, wow, this is incredible. Take the money. We can reinvest it. We can go and improve the team and so on. So at that time, we all want him to go. He goes. And what follows is probably the biggest hate campaign that I'd ever experienced in my time of being a West Ham United fan, almost to the level of Paul Ince. It was full on. And I know that when he joined Chelsea, he come out and said some dodgy things and gave a bit of banter back. But I feel like that was a retaliation to our digs at him for being overweight and all of those things that we had. When he joined Chelsea, did you realise the hatred that he would start to get from West Ham fans? I mean, I remember when we played you in the cup and he got a penalty, and I remember starting at the back of the stand and ended up in front of him before he took that penalty, foaming at the mouth, just desperate for him to miss it. I mean, that the hatred runs so deep.
What was that cup game? Was that the three when it was a draw at Stamford Bridge and we went back?
We'd been relegated.
No, you beat us 1-0. Kesman.
Yeah, Kesman.
And there was one before. Do you remember the one when West Ham fans, weirdly at Chelsea, we gave you as an away end the Matthew Harding lower, and it finished 1-1, and then we went back. We won away, but it finished 1-1 at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah,
there's been some great ties. But yeah, I do remember the Kesman one. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, did you ever realise the sort of hatred that there's Baz? Did you ever realise the hatred he'd come into? And do you think it was justified? Because I see the interviews now back with Harry Redknapp, and there's pictures of Frank Lampard in West Ham kits as a young boy. You know, he was out and out West Ham United, Frank Lampard. He was a proper West Ham boy. And for him to then have this total disconnect after leaving. Rio Ferdinand didn't get it going to Manchester United. Carrick didn't get it going to Manchester United. There are players who never got these issues, but Frank Lampard did.
Yeah, I think sometimes what happens though with football supporters is, you know, when you've loved them so much, I think when you've loved them so much, you then it hurts you. Like, you know the way Liverpool fans, for example, when Torres went back to Liverpool, they were vicious. And I think the reason they felt like that is because they gave him so much, they loved him so much, and they saw the fact that he left as a bit of a betrayal. And I think with Frank Lampard, he is one of your, he went to Brent. He was from Brentwood, isn't he? Like that couldn't be more West Ham. So I do kind of see how it is, and I think that look, I don't feel too precious about things like this. I feel like there's a line, and it was probably crossed, but I don't think Frank Lampard would care. So I think it'd be weird for me to care on his behalf. Like Frank Lampard has a beautiful family. He's married to an incredibly successful woman. He finished second in the Ballon d'Or, and he captained Chelsea to a European Cup.
All right, mate, slow down.
No, do you know what I mean? No. Like
we're going to make you the only team in London to win the European Cup.
No, but he won't care. So it would be mad for me to care.
Yeah.
But then I suppose on the only other way to look at it, do you remember the game at Upton Park where they made him take the penalty 3 times?
Yes.
And he did it every time, pinged it in every time. It was amazing.
Like,
the venom that he got there though, the venom that he got like during that. And I mean, like one of the nicest things, I mean, it was loud, but it was probably the kindest, was like one man couldn't carry and all that. But I mean, it's got to get to you, hasn't it? I mean, recently I've had my own, I don't want to compare my situation to Frank Lampard's, right? But I've come in for some stick. I've come in for some fairly significant stick. And it would be a fraction, like a 0.1% of what Frank Lampard endured when he went to Upton Park.
Yeah.
And I can't say it didn't affect me at all. And I'm fairly thick-skinned. So it probably crossed the line. It probably went too far. But I'd always kind of go with the he who laughs last. And also, he's the athlete. He's the athlete on 50 grand a week or whatever it would have been at the time.
I get what you're saying, but Baz drives around Jermaine Defoe. And I do appreciate the fact that, what he went on to achieve was way beyond anything that he could look back on and think, well, I was disappointed, because he proved that the move was 100% the correct one. But I don't 100% buy the fact that any player doesn't care, because Jermaine Defoe, he come in for a bit of stick, and it was very disappointing for us that we get relegated, and one of the players that we was relying on to move us back into the Premier League handed in a transfer request.
And went to Tottenham as well, didn't he? Like that's that's the thing.
But like, Baz drove him around when he was at Bournemouth, and I think I'm right in saying, Baz, that he was absolutely gutted that the West Ham fans ended up falling out with him, and he really wanted to tell his story, didn't he, to try and turn that negativity around towards him.
Yeah, mate, he said in a documentary himself, didn't he, that he regretted putting in the transfer request. He was a young lad, misled by his agent, very naive. When his agent said, if you want to be playing for England and Premier League football, you've got to leave that football club now. And I acted, and that's what I've done. He's come out and apologised for that. He wanted to move back to West Ham, and this is no word of a lie. The year we played Palace at Upton Park when Andy Carroll scored the volley, I was on the phone to Jermaine outside the ground while David Gold pulled out, and he said to me on the phone, he went, tell him to come and bid for me. I'm ready to come home. That was before he went to Glasgow Rangers. He said, I owe West Ham fans something. That was his words. The thing with Lampard, and for me, listen, when West Ham fans are going to boo him, that can only make that man want to do more against you. And when he scores, of course he's going to kiss the badge to the fans he's playing for now. I understand that. And I used to always think to myself, don't boo him. You boo him, you know he's going to score, and he's just going to stand there like that. That's all he's going to do. And he done it. Every player does it to former clubs. And sometimes that motivation gets in them to do better.
John Terry used to get it badly from you as well.
Yeah.
And always used to have a good game. Always have a good game.
He was with us as a boy, wasn't he? He was with us as a boy, that's why. But Defoe come out and said, we've never, still to this day, heard Frank Lampard ever say anything good about his time at West Ham. When he left, he said it was a Mickey Mouse club, run terribly. Listen, I understand his dad and his uncle also lost their jobs. I respect that, and it must be hard. His dad is still a legend at West Ham, despite sitting in Stamford Bridge watching his boy play football every week. And he will always be a legend. Carrick left, never said nothing. Rio left, never said. Rio scored against us and run back with his head in the ground. Yeah. Joe Cole will really get a lot of grief. Not really.
No, he didn't get it badly. But the thing with Lampard is the man that he is, and the reason that he made it to the very top is that he is driven, focused, all of the positive words, but also probably likes to prove people wrong, harbours a bit of a grudge. And I think that it's got to the stage now where Frank Lampard, I don't know this, by the way, this isn't something I've read, but I get the impression that Frank Lampard doesn't like West Ham United.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, he doesn't like the club. He has nothing fond to say about the club. The way that he would say the way that his family were treated was appalling. He would also say the way that he was treated as a player, and I think we probably all agree, as a player by the fans was unacceptable, and he now doesn't wish the club well.
Yeah.
But I think that's allowed. I think this is where it's all gone a bit mental, right? People now get annoyed when people celebrate against them. You know, if somebody scores a goal and they celebrate, people kind of take it as a personal insult. Yeah. Frank Lampard doesn't have to like West Ham. He's perfectly allowed to not, just as all West Ham fans are perfectly allowed to not like him. And as long as nobody crosses a line, there's no real issue. There's no real issue. But I think now it's got to the stage where people seem to quite enjoy being offended and almost look for it and want some sort of issue to be raised. And so that they can feel aggrieved and go, can you believe how I was treated or whatever? And it's all a bit crazy. But no, I think you're right. Frank Lampard don't like West Ham.
Oh, shut up. Let's be real. That's not just in football. That's in everything in life. People want to feel the victim.
Yeah. And the thing is, Frank Lampard, though, you know all that with Scott Cannon?
Yeah.
Like, that was mental. Like, what there did seem to be quite a sneery attitude to Lampard. And I could be. What's that all about?
There was.
Like, why?
I think
you had the bloke who went on to be second in the Ballon d'Or to Ronaldinho at your club, and you didn't rate him.
I don't think we ever believed. Go on, Baz.
You saying we didn't rate him? I'm going to be honest. My opinion as a West Ham fan, he was never as good as what he was when he went to Chelsea. Never. Rio Ferdinand was never as good at West Ham as he was when he went to Man United. Joe Cole wasn't.
You know what though, Baz? People like me and you. We don't need to. Our job doesn't rely on us spotting it. So you know when people go, when people go to me, God, you let Kevin De Bruyne go. What did you think about that? I was like, well, at the time, I thought Kevin De Bruyne wasn't very good because I was at Swindon when he had a really bad game, and Mo Salah at Shrewsbury. I was at the game. He had a shot, hit the corner flag.
Yeah,
but I'm not paid a fortune by a club to recognise talent. So whether me and you rated Lampard when we saw him play is neither here nor there. But someone at West Ham needed to go, hold up. This bloke's good.
It's a very interesting point you raised there, mate.
The man
me and Baz,
the manager.
Yeah, whoever
and that's right. The man who was paid to do it did know and came out in that interview and absolutely called it 100% correctly. It's so interesting now, the dynamic of people who are just on this type of platform to have a chat about our feelings and to have an outlet and to have an opinion. But all of a sudden now you're almost expected to be like a qualified football scout. And me and Baz have actually said on this channel we are going to go through the process of qualifying as a scout to show people what that entails, how you go about that, raise awareness to get people to embrace scouting more in football, because there's a big lull in that space at the moment, and I think more people need to choose it as a potential career choice. But it is crazy that just if we have an opinion and we get it wrong, that should be absolutely fine. It shouldn't be a problem. And there is a perfect example of this. I said at the beginning of this season that one thing is absolutely for certain: David Moyes, if he has a full season under any club, he gets you relegated. Well, look where I am now. I couldn't have got it more wrong.
Do you know what's quite funny? And I've got no issue with it. But I did on a show. Do you know I do the show, The Kickoff, right? On that show, we did our predictions at the beginning of the season, and one I got spot on. And I'll take a lot of I love the applause. I'm like running around doing the Shiro, like, yes, I got it right. And that was Sheffield United to go down. Right. So nobody thought that at the time. Nobody ran on the table. I mean, nobody thought it. Everybody laughed when I said it. And I was like, yeah, brilliant. People who like me, which are few and far between, but people who like me, they clip that bit up for me, right? And they share it. Rory knows what he's talking about. Look how he got this one spot on. And don't get me wrong, I retweet that. I love it. But do you know what my next sentence was? West Ham should go.
Mate, to be honest with you, the gospel truth is, I think a lot of West Ham fans thought, especially, I'm saying this, after lockdown last year, when lockdown started and we come back, we looked a different side. But going in before the games restarted at lockdown, I think 90% of West Ham fans thought we was going down then as well. So to have survived, we thought we was going to. A lot of fans, I thought as well. I thought we'd have struggled this year. No fan would have said we'd have been top six. I don't believe anyone.
You're the only club. I think you're the only club in the country that has benefited from no fans in the ground. Because it gets so put. You've got that tradition of sticking the corner flag in the centre circle. I like all that stuff, by the way. But the passion of your support being so anti the powers that be does have a detrimental effect on can at least have a detrimental effect on the first 11.
It can, but also the big games, it pulls us through sometimes. Why do we always beat your likes of Tottenham's, your Chelsea's and so on?
Yeah,
sometimes it does have the right effect.
It's so funny. It's so funny. What is that? It's so funny.
I never knew what it was until I watched All or Nothing, the Tottenham documentary on Amazon. And I watched that.
Gosh,
I did.
That's dedicated football fans there. I did about 20 minutes.
Did you? I've done them all. I've done the Leeds one. I watch it. I like the Sunderland one on Netflix. That was good.
But that was it. I like the Sunderland one. But do you know what? That reminds me.
Good.
That's when I was up all night because I just had a baby. Like the beginning of 2019, I had a baby, so I was up all night just watching Sunderland go to pot. That was like the way that's my memory of being like a new dad.
Yeah.
I couldn't do the Tottenham one. It was propaganda.
It was. And however, there was one thing in there that really stood out for me, and that was Jose Mourinho standing in the dressing room with a load of overpaid prima donna footballers who think they're better than what they are. And he was really trying to G them up. And he was going around to them going, you've got to learn to be, and swear words, I'm not going to do it on Isla's channel, but you've got to learn to be this, you've got to learn. And he was trying to get an understanding into those players that if you're going to come out against West Ham, you've got to put your foot in, you've got to make those tackles, you've got to let people know you're there. You're not going to go through this game like it's a normal game of football. They're going to put it on you, they're going to be niggly, and you need to get right in their face and give it back. And you could tell it weren't getting through to them. It weren't going in. They were just sitting there as if to say, I don't understand what he's talking about. And they just do not get that London derby mentality of this is how it's going to be. And Jose Mourinho did get it, but the players didn't understand. And you could tell that us being up for it was going to make the difference. And,
Mate, it's so funny. That record that you've got, like, it goes back years as well, doesn't it? It's constant. You always beat them. You always get an impressive win. And I always look forward to it. You know, obviously at the old White Hart Lane when you had the fans in the corner, you'd always see them go mad. It's like a big one for you, like it is for us, isn't it? You always see that corner erupt.
The Wembley one was incredible. 2-0 down at half time and coming back to win 3-2
all things like that
at Wembley was unbelievable.
Yeah, in the cup, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you just knew when we scored our first goal, we was again at the back. My dad grabbed hold of me and went, get to the front, we are winning this game. There were just moments with West Ham when we beat Man United at Old Trafford and Barthez put his hand up, Di Canio slotted it. It's so weird. Sometimes as a West Ham fan, you just know. You get this feeling and you go, today is going to be our day. And it always is. It's
always against Tottenham, though. Do you know what? I remember even when I was a kid, like young, I remember watching Match of the Day. I used to record it and put it on. There was one where you beat them 4-3, and I remember John Hartson scored.
Yeah, him and Kitson.
Was it? Yeah, like there's loads, and obviously this year even, this year. Obviously, I know it wasn't a win, but it was a win, wasn't it? You know, the 3-0.
It was a win. It was a win. It was so funny. I went out afterwards. I was indoors. That happened. I've run around my back garden. I said, I've got to go out to the pub. I literally left the front door, got down there, and I'm like, I can't believe we beat Tottenham today. And someone went, yeah, but you didn't beat them.
Yeah,
I'd actually forgot that it was a draw. I thought we'd won.
Do you know that goal, when Lanzini scored that goal, that is the most I've ever celebrated a goal that wasn't like a Chelsea or England goal. That is the most.
No wonder you get stick. No wonder you're getting stick. You can't.
That is definitely the most I've celebrated. And I've never ever celebrated a goal as passionately as that. Like I celebrated that goal more passionately than I've celebrated some Chelsea goals. Like, if Chelsea scored a fifth in a 5-0, I'd give a little ooh.
I'll be honest.
That goal, I celebrated so much more than that. I was off the sofa. My wife didn't know what was going on.
I can confirm, as a West Ham fan, we did celebrate Frank Lampard's penalty miss that Craig Forrest saved more than we celebrated that goal. I promise you. That was like winning the league, the FA Cup, the World Cup, everything in 3 seconds when he missed that.
When was that? What have I forgotten?
That was that cup game when he missed the penalty. Craig Forrest saved it, and then you beat Esmond.
You sure it weren't Jimmy Walker?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jimmy Walker. Who did I say?
Jimmy Walker. Craig Forrest.
Jimmy Walker was in goal.
Yes, I did. Yeah, of course.
That celebration from West Ham fans. I watched us win the playoff against Blackpool.
And it wasn't as passionate as that.
Wembley was dead. Wembley was dead, honestly, compared to that.
Wembley's always dead, though, mate. England could win the World Cup at Wembley, it'd be dead. It's such a bad stadium. It's so, like, the acoustics of it are wrong.
Them 3 or 4 seconds when that ball hit Walker's legs and that whole end just went. And then I
went
remember
mad,
straight after, the coins were on the pitch from our fans. I remember Kesman got one in the head and all. Then when they scored a winner and beat us 1-0, brilliant. Thanks for
That's
this.
right. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Good sign.
We've got, in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wrap up the Frank Lampard bit because we've gone away from that a little bit. But just to obviously the question about how we didn't appreciate him, I don't think any of us. He was a little bit overweight. He was a little bit tubby. He already had the Fat Frank kind of label from our fans.
He was fatter than me.
But you see, this is the thing, right? We've got to talk about this briefly. If he's fat, like, let's just go with it. If he's fat, there's no hope for anyone, is there?
There's definitely no hope for me and Baz. That's
like
for sure.
The geezer's got a six-pack. He just happens to have a name that begins with F.
No, mate, he didn't at West Ham. And this is true.
He looked a
is it true?
Bit, yeah,
Did it?
This isn't nothing at him. At Chelsea, he become world class, no doubt about it. And when Chelsea signed him and said, we're buying this box-to-box player, mate, the only box-to-box he was in then was KFC to McDonald's. Because he did have a derby, honestly. But listen, I promise you, but hand on my heart, that man has gone and lived every single young man's dream. And fair play to him. He's been to the very top. He's played for his country. He's won every single trophy out there, apart from the World Cup. There's not many English players who can say they've won that. That man has lived the dream, and he's done it all. Fair play to him. The banter about calling him Fat Frank, listen, we can't call him that now. We know that. We couldn't call him that 18 months into his Chelsea, 8 months into his Chelsea career. But it was banter. At West Ham, he wasn't fat, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't what Chelsea said, the box-to-box player at the time. That boy worked his nuts off and become a world-class footballer, and he deserves every single credit for that. And he got better and better and better at a better club. I can put my hands up and say that. If he had stayed at West Ham for his career, and I mean this with respect to him now, like Mark Noble, he wouldn't have won a trophy as Mark Noble.
Yeah.
The boy challenged.
It's good to hear you admit that, because he has.
Mark Noble's the same. If you see Mark Noble, this is what winds me up about not just Mark Noble, but West Ham in general in the past. We've become a bit fitter under David Moyes. We've had a big problem with fitness over the last sort of 5 or 6 years. Not that I'm sitting there watching when blokes take their tops off at the end of games, but we'd play a team like City. Sterling would take his top off to swap shirts and look like an absolute machine, like an absolute engineered, fit athlete. Mark Noble takes his shirt off. It looks like a geezer from down at Clapham Common or wherever. Do you know what I mean?
Some people are a bit like that, though, aren't they? Like Wayne Rooney,
are. Sometimes it's dad body type stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you like the darts athlete over there?
Can I
no, you can't.
As a Chelsea fan, right?
Go on.
We've obviously done well this season today. And you made a comment earlier about we've benefited of not having fans in the ground. I understand that, I do. But I will promise you, because I hear it on TalkSport from people, Trevor Sinclair's made the comment, Martin Keown now, West Ham fans are hard to please. Jim White, when I was on to him the other week, cut me off. Let it go, let it go. The GSB out is not about winning. Or playing bad, being in a relegation fight. We're consistent. We want them out of our football club for the lies that we've had for 10, 11 years. And the change that's come to West Ham. It's not because we were fourth from bottom and on the verge of going down. And we're not going to forget it because we was fourth in the Premier League and going to let it go because they haven't helped this team. They, again, knocked back their manager. That manager, I know you said about fans, that manager, his coaching staff deserve so much praise for the way they've turned this football club round. Because we should have gone down the way we was. We haven't because of what he's done. I don't think David Moyes is West Ham's future, but I cannot criticise the job he's done in the last year. I can't.
No, mate. I mean, he's almost like he's got to be top three. He's got a good chance of getting manager of the year, hasn't he?
He's got to be in there. The way what he's done at West Ham has to be.
Yeah, and also in terms of overachieving, like, look, obviously Guardiola's manager of the year because his team have won like 10 in a row, whatever it is. But in terms of overachieving, I don't think anybody had. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks, obviously. But if West Ham finish in the European spots, that's up there, isn't it?
We think for now, there's 8 better teams than West Ham. I do believe that. Teams like yourself now, we're going to turn around. Arsenal better. They will, and they will get West Ham in the end. I know you already, but we'll end up going above. I don't know, but to finish 8th is still good for a manager who's got one centre forward at the football club. One. The owners haven't backed him, haven't helped him with his hamstrings. He's unreliable, unfortunately, and he's not an out-and-out forward either. As a Chelsea fan, watching West Ham, what they do, forget not having fans, forget the fans being on the owner's back and booing their teams at times. What do you think West Ham are or have done and how far they've come under David Moyes as a Chelsea fan? Because usually your battle is with you, Arsenal and Tottenham. You two are the three London clubs that finished highest normally. Right now, West Ham are fighting for that space and looking good for it, to be fair.
Yeah, look, I'm full of admiration for what West Ham have done this season. I think it's truly impressive and completely shocking. I don't think, I didn't see this coming at all. And on some level, I kind of like the idea of West Ham making it into Europe, simply because, can you imagine if fans are allowed to travel, if everything goes well in the current climate? Imagine how many West Ham fans go to Braga, and it would just be hilarious.
Especially if we're allowed out of lockdown, it would be thousands upon thousands upon
There'll
thousands.
There'll be nobody left in Romford, will there? Romford will be totally empty.
There'd be chartering planes from there, and off they go.
Yeah, Southend Airport, the morning of the game.
Oh,
and Wetherspoons is busy.
The only problem is,
I think it's good. I think it's funny, and I think that, look, if West Ham finish above Tottenham, I'm all in favour of that. I'm all in favour of the fallout of that. So my only real concern is that you're going to finish above Chelsea, though.
The only problem is, and this is a problem here, when we played Everton in the next round of the League Cup, whatever it's called now, Carabao Cup. Is that what it's called? Whatever cup it is.
Yeah, it's Carabao, yeah.
Our owner moaned that they had to pay 50 grand travelling to there. Imagine if we do go abroad. They want to buy first class. We're going to be on the back of like David Gold helicopter, and it'll be like 2 at a time. Fill it up yourself.
Mate, you'll all end up on the same plane as a team.
You know what I mean? We'll be on the Eurostar, us lot, honestly.
And this is a point James just made here. So Moyes, Nolan and Irvine. I think that's a really good point. We don't just have David Moyes. We actually have 4 top level coaches that have been involved at international levels, and they know the game. They know the game really, really well. And it isn't just David Moyes there. It is that whole coaching staff that we've put in place that is achieving what we're achieving at the moment. And yeah, I mean, it's been amazing to see. Just upon that, though, about the fans being in the ground, I actually think, I'm not sure I 100% agree with the fact that we've benefited from it. And Kent's made the real good point here. We are not hard to please. We just want players and managers, coaches to give 100%. Joe Cole came out and said it after a game in an interview on BT Sport. He came out and said, West Ham fans don't ask for much. All they ask for is 100% commitment. And he's absolutely right. Some of the people we've put up on a pedestal.
He should have thought about that when he left.
Well, maybe he should, mate. Maybe he should. But, we've had players like John Pansil, bang, average, if not very poor football players, but because they gave everything, mate, he had his own lap of honour at the end of the season, like, because he's just one of these triers. We love a trier. That's what we love. What we can't stand is players that don't give effort, and at the moment they are giving everything. And if we was to get into Europe now, we're going through that little bit of time where the injuries have come. We're starting to have to struggle for selections a little bit. Obviously against Man United the other night, Yarmolenko up front, not ideal. If fans were in the ground now and we was having this positive season, I think that's what carries us over the line and gets us into Europe. I'm concerned that with the fatigue and with the energy levels that will start happening now on the back end of this season and the short squad that we've got, that it could now go backwards. And I wish the fans were there now, because I think that's what we really need.
Of course. Do you know what? It was only ever a flippant dig, really, to say that you're better off without fans in the ground. Of course, the support of West Ham, the old ground at least. I've never seen the new ground rock, but the old ground definitely would. Of course, that can be enough to carry you over the line. And I think that you're going to need a bit of a bonus like that, some sort of just tonic, because you sold your striker, didn't you? I thought you'd signed somebody in January. You sold that Haller. By the way, wasn't he a liberty taker the way that he left? Do you see that? Oh, I've always wanted, I've been desperate to play for Ajax for ages. No,
Yeah.
really? Because we've been paying your wages, mate.
That's exactly
It's such
right.
a liberty. Such a
Yeah,
liberty.
not good. And
But
he
look,
looked
I
like
thought
he
you'd
knew he was
replace him,
going
though.
as well.
I thought you would buy somebody for that position, because that's what ultimately is gonna. If you make it, great. But if you don't make it, it's because you haven't got a centre forward.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 100%.
But
And I'm sure
let's
Baz has
not-
got a lot of feelings on that.
Let's not forget as well, it is a centre forward, but we're also only one injury or suspension away from disaster in midfield. If Declan Rice or Thomas Suchek get injured, I love the man, but Mark Noble comes in for them. And the way David Moyes plays football, with that fast counter-attacking football and the press and the push out of midfield and the drive, Mark Noble's never had that in his career. So he ain't going to have it in his last 1 but 2 years, is he? And that's who's to come in. And again, listen, at the start of the season, the owners told us, and he said it on TalkSport, we've got 4 centre midfielders: Declan Rice, Thomas Suchek, Mark Noble, Robert Snodgrass. We've sold Snodgrass, we've got Noble left. He told us we had 8 wingers. We then got rid of Dean Garner, we then got rid of Anderson. Told us we had forwards, Haller and Antonio. Haller's now one, we've got 1. We're playing Yarmolenko up front, who honestly, I probably run around my house more than he runs around a football pitch in 90 minutes. And I don't ever run. Look at the size of me, I don't run.
That was the way to leave a club. You know, you mentioned Snodgrass there.
Yeah.
What a man.
That was the way to leave a club.
Yeah. He is an absolute. I know him off the pitch as well. He has done so many things for Isla. Mate, I was in Tenerife a few years ago. Out of the blue, I get a message from him. I've sorted out a auction site to raise money for Isla. I said, what do you mean? He said, let me WhatsApp you a video. Sends him my number, and he sends me a video. He's got everything. John Terry stuff, Frank Lampard stuff. He raised 30 odd grand in auction stuff for the little girl. And I was out in Barcelona visiting Nicola, who's Isla's mum, while she was having the treatment for a few days. He come over to Barcelona with Mark Noble off his own back to come and visit the little girl in hospital. The man is different class on and off the pitch. And there's a reason why every football club he leaves, their set of fans still love him.
Yeah.
And when he leaves, whether he retires, whatever, I promise you they will love him. The man is different class.
Yeah, very impressive. It's nice to hear stories like that as well. Footballers often get such a bad press, don't they?
Yeah.
There's another man who will probably leave West Ham very soon that you would obviously, I guess, would love to have at your club. And under Lampard, it was very possible. But now looking less likely, Mr. Declan Rice. Is it a man that you would like to see back there? Obviously, Chelsea boy, lives in an area with the rest of the Chelsea players and a Chelsea fan at heart. Is he a man that you'd want to see go over to you?
I rate him incredibly highly. I think he's a brilliant player, and I think he's exactly what we lacked under Lampard. I think everything that he contributes to a team, you know, that tenacity, that spirit, you know, the stuff that you can't quite quantify. So, you know, people talk about stats and they go, oh, he does this amount of running or that amount of forward passes or retrieves the ball this amount of time. You know, all the stuff that you can't quantify: heart, aggression, spirit, tenacity, all of that stuff. I think he's got that by the bucket load. And I love the idea of him linking up with Mason Mount under Frank Lampard. I think it was a match made in heaven. Now Lampard's not there, though. I don't quite know what the desire will be from Chelsea to sign him. But equally, I think it's reciprocal. I don't know what the desire for Declan... I imagine a big part of playing for Chelsea for Declan Rice was playing under Frank Lampard. And now Frank Lampard's not there. I don't know...
I think it runs a bit deeper than that. It runs a bit deeper than that.
I think the fact he's been there as a boy, I think the fact he's a Chelsea fan, I think the fact he's Champions League football, playing with his best mate, I think them things might be a big key factor too. Listen, when the time was bad with Chelsea, I was hoping we got Mason Mount straight away. While he was no, that's how I thought. I thought team them together at West Ham, let him be in our front three, not in Chelsea's middle three. Snap him up, get him in on loan. But because obviously the talk was always the other way around. I've said for ages, and I think Frankie will say this, and most West Ham fans, it will sound biased. That's the best boy to ever come out of this academy ever, and really? that's a big statement.
Yeah, that's huge, man. I didn't think you'd say that.
Under the right guidance, he won't be if he stays at West Ham. Under the right guidance, with the right manager, the right coaches, he will do more than everyone else. Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, Michael Carrick. He will do more than all of them. He won't score the goals Frank Lampard scored. That's not his position. He will be a better player than every single one of them under the right coach, 100%.
That's huge. I mean, that is...
And that's true. That is honestly
that's
true.
Huge praise. I'm surprised to hear you say that, to be honest, because it's nothing against Rice. I think Rice is a brilliant player with a phenomenal future ahead of him. But I didn't realise that his stature was quite that. Because obviously, when you think about the academy at West Ham, there's some incredible players who have come out of it. So I am surprised to hear you say that. I'd love to see him sign for Chelsea. You kind of want people at the club who want to be at the club as well, don't you? It means something, the fact that he's so desperate to be there. But I just don't know if he'll fit into this new system that we play, which is kind of Kovacic and Jorginho in the same side, doing the same job as a pair, allowing a lot more. We kind of defend now. We defend and attack in two groups of 5. So we've got 5 defenders on the pitch and 5 attackers on the pitch. The fullbacks are part of the attackers and the 2 midfielders are part of the defenders. And I don't know if Declan Rice is that. I feel like he's got more in his game than that.
Well, maybe, but one thing that would help with him playing in that way and in that system is that he was a centre half. That's where he started his career.
Yeah.
If he has to drop into the back, literally as a defender and play as a half back, so he pushes into the midfield and drops into the defensive roles, he can do that. And he's also expressed the desire that he wants to be more attacking and he wants to get forward and he wants to be a box to box midfielder. And we've seen little glimpses that, while he's not been allowed to do that for West Ham, he hasn't been allowed to express himself in terms of shooting, in terms of being on the edge of that box and trying to score goals. With the right guidance, I think he could absolutely bring that. He's always been covering someone in his West Ham career, and that's always held him back. When he was playing with Mark Noble, he had to do the running for him and Mark Noble. He literally had to do the running for both players. At the moment, we struggle with left-back positions. We struggle with right-back. There are times where he literally plays central midfield and has to cover the left-back at the same time. He is always compensating for a weakness within our team. If you literally said to him, now all you've got to do is focus on your own job, and he had the correct guidance from someone, you would see that boy flourish and grow into a world. I've never seen someone so young read a game so intelligently and so well. He reads a game. He is so quick. He sees things before they happen on that football pitch, and that isn't something you can teach someone. That is a natural
Do you
talent.
think he definitely leaves then, regardless of how well your season goes? Do you think he leaves?
Rory,
every single West Ham fan here would say he has to leave. Not any other. He has to, and all of us, no matter where he goes, would say right decision. Go on, Baz.
Let me ask, West Ham ain't realistically going to finish in the top 4. It's not going to happen.
No, but top 6 or 7, Europe.
Okay, right, let's say we're 7th in the Europa League. Why would that boy, who's a regular for his country, a starter for West Ham, and I mean this with respect, he could walk into all them top 4 teams. Why would he sit and say, I'll start West Ham for another year? Because I promise you, there's more to it than money for Declan Rice. He doesn't play football for money.
But why didn't it happen before then? Why didn't it happen in the summer? He must have.
Why?
Well, yeah, Chelsea spent 200. Chelsea spent over 200 million quid. I'm surprised that if Chelsea really wanted him, it didn't happen then.
I think Frank Lampard proved he really wanted him, but I think Frank Lampard had to prove himself with what he had spent, and I don't think he did, and I don't think that's why he got more money. Otherwise, I think Declan Rice would have been there personally. If Frank Lampard was given, I'm going to an example, another 75 million quid for argument's sake, I think you would have seen Declan Rice wearing a Chelsea shirt. I don't think.
No, but what I mean, when he was given, so Frank Lampard spent what, 220?
Yeah.
If he really wanted Rice and the club really wanted Rice, if they're going to spend 220, they get Rice.
But that weren't his priority, was it? The defensive midfielder weren't, like you said. You've got Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante, Gilmore at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't a priority. I think he had to prove himself, Lampard, in the transfer market. I've got to be honest, I would love to watch Declan Rice finish his career at West Ham. Nothing would make me more happier. That boy's got ambition, and no one can knock that. And again, if Chelsea were a mid-table side, like we are, at our best probably, if you had players, you wouldn't want to hold them back.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. And Declan Rice would be the sort of man that left the football club who turns around and says, I have nothing but thanks to the fan base, to the club for giving me the opportunity. He wouldn't say, I'm leaving to better myself and I ain't going to be able to win trophies at this club. He wouldn't be like that rude about it. He's that level-headed. That boy will go to the very, very top. Sadly, it won't be in a West Ham shirt, but that's part and parcel of being a West Ham fan. We know that. And that comes... Could you imagine, though, West Ham was 4th in January. If the owners of that football club had gone out, bought a centre-forward, bought another player in centre midfield to cover him, and we did get for the top 4, he might have said, I'm up for it here, I'm in it. But the club show no ambition. Why would he want to stick around if he's got ambition of his own?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I suppose it will depend on what happens now for West Ham between now and the end of the season, though. Like Lingard in, scoring goals. It will depend what happens. If Chelsea finish top 4, maybe win a trophy, you can see the appeal. If we both qualify for the Europa League, is there much in it? I don't know.
It's not only Chelsea he'd go to. He could get into all them other teams. He could get into Man City's team.
But it's only Chelsea that have the... If it's not Chelsea for him, I feel like I'm talking like I'm mates with Declan Rice, and sadly that isn't true. Although I do think we'd get on like a house on fire. But I think that for him, if it isn't Chelsea, I think it might as well be West Ham. I don't think a move to Man City is what Declan Rice is buzzing for. I think it was linking up with Lampard, going back to his boyhood club, playing with his best mate, or building something at West Ham.
Well,
yeah. I have to say, my heart just dropped because I've seen the most West Ham possible thing that I didn't pick up on until this point. And Stephen Kilgarriff has just said, swap you Rice for Jesse and 40 million. The fact that Jesse has come in and Man United would love to offload, and I think Declan Rice is a very good potential central midfielder for them, I wouldn't be surprised if that is exactly the type of thing our board would line up. That rings so our board, it's unbelievable.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
If you're Jesse Lingard and you're watching West Ham sell their best players, why would you want to join them?
Yeah, no.
There's a fit to
that's
it. And you ain't going to replace him. If Declan Rice went to Chelsea as a West Ham owner and manager, you should be saying, look, we're going to lose the best central midfielder in this country. We need a replacement. Chelsea have got Kante, who ain't playing, Gilmore, who's a top talent, not playing. We need one of these in return. We need cover until we find someone perfect, because we don't have cover.
Although your board want the money, don't they? Your board don't operate that way.
It's free money. That's the difference with him. That ain't going to cost them a penny selling him, because he was a free boy for them.
Yeah.
It's all free money.
That's right. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, mate. So I just want to now touch upon a little update from Isla. So this is the real reality bit. So we're trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers so we can try and get it monetized. So if anyone's watching today, if you can subscribe to the channel, please do so. Every penny that we get from this channel when it's monetized will go to Isla's fight. We don't take anything from this channel. If you can do all the like and share and share this on your social media platforms, we'd really appreciate it. There is a PayPal link running across the bottom of the screen. So if there's any donations that you can put in, whether it's 50p, a pound, £5, it all will help and add to our main total. We do still have the auction up for John Terry's armband, so we will promote that on social media after this, which you can see there. So his captain's armband signed by none other than John Terry. So please get involved with that. If you'd like to bid on that, there is a reserve of £350, but please DM us or comment on the post on Twitter, and you can get involved with that auction as well. And then really it's just, we're going to be on Away Day Radio this weekend. We've got a Weekend for Isla on Away Day Radio. Rory is kindly agreed to call in for 10 minutes and have a bit of a chat while we're on there as well. So that'll be fantastic. So please tune in to awaydayradio.co.uk. I will link everything below in the bottom, so everybody can get involved in there. It's a fantastic online radio show. Mine and Baz's show is 12 until 2 on Saturday. Rory will be calling in at some point, and then straight after our show we've got a massive auction. There are so many prizes. There are football memorabilia, there's Billy Joe Saunders signed shorts, there's all sorts of things going on from musicians and artists and everything else. So there's going to be a huge auction over there. So Baz, just give us a little update on what's happening with Isla at the moment, how things are going for her, and the reason why we're here.
Okay, so I've just seen James as the star to watch the calls. Basically, Isla's a 6-year-old girl who's been fighting neuroblastoma for the last 4 or 5 years, now 4 years really. Now, she's been in Barcelona having treatment where we've got her into remission. Sadly, she's relapsed twice. She's come back to the UK this year where the results were good before lockdown, and sadly, again, the results are not going as wanted. She's currently having chemo for the next 2 months before we can get her abroad when lockdown lifts so they can travel. where all her treatment out there, the antibody and the chemo is a bit stronger, that can help, because there's nothing in the UK they can do. Great Ormond Street told Nicola, Isla's mum, 3.5 years ago now, to take Isla home and give her the next 3 months of her life the best you can, because she won't see past it. There's no more they can do. Isla is currently, as we speak now, in Queen's Hospital and having a tough time. She's got an infection in her line, or sepsis. They're not sure. They're waiting to find out if she needs to go to Great Ormond Street Hospital on blue lights. This was Nicola's update 21 hours ago. I've not pestered her. I do talk to Nicola every day. I spoke to her this morning and she told me she's not at all well. I will read you out the message she sent me. I said, how's she doing, Nick? What's happening? And she put, she's not too bad. She's not too bad in herself, but her infection markers should be under 5. Isla's are currently over 400. So whatever she got is very, very bad. I promise you, people, I promise you, this little girl has put this fight up for years and has come through it. She's only come through it from the support and the donations that people have made for her to get this treatment that she so desperately needs. As Frankie said earlier, £1 helps. If you can't donate £1, the only thing I can ask you to do is hit retweet, because the more people that see this, just share it. The more that see it, the more we got a chance of helping this girl get through this horrific disease. She's got the same cancer as young Bradley Lowry had, God bless him, the neuroblastoma. And it's not a nice story to see. Someone's just asked where you can donate. The PayPal link is going across the bottom. And let me just explain to you quickly about the donation. So I've fundraised for Isla for 3.5, 4 years now and raised £250,000 for her. The reason I do it via PayPal is because my money that I raise through you lot goes 50% to Nicola and 50% onto the Just Giving page. It's all accounted for. I put it all up in black and white at the end of every month, a picture of what's happened, why it's happened, what money's come in, what's gone out, because the family have costs. They have an 18-year-old daughter who stays in this country while they travel abroad, who also needs to have a roof above her head. They have to rent accommodation when they're abroad. It doesn't come cheap. It doesn't come free. I've been in Barcelona with them. 4 toll roads a day at €11 per toll. That's €44 a day. People don't see these costs, and that's why my PayPal gives them 50%. I promise you the money's not wasted. The money is spent on Isla and getting Isla to where she needs to be, what it needed for. If Nicola messaged me now and said we're flying away next week, there'd be £1,000 in her bank to make them travel at the best possible class they can, whether that's first class, whatever money they needed. If not, 50% of that would go to her as in £500, and 50% of it would go onto the Just Giving page, which pays for her treatment. I can't ask you to give money because that's the wrong thing of me to do. I can ask you, if you can do it, please do it. But please just hit share and give this little girl every chance you can to beat this horrible, horrible disease.
Thank you very much, Baz. Really do appreciate it. And Rory, thank you again for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time, mate, and it's been superb.
Oh, mate, thank you so much. And it's incredible work that you boys are doing. I'm going to push that Terry captain armband as much as I can as well. So with a bit of luck, we'll raise some money there. But no, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I'll be speaking to you on Saturday anyway on the radio, right?
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. That would be great. We've got some good people coming on. We've got Terry coming on from the Football Terrace, so he will be talking about the West Ham and Man United game that we just had. I will be talking, and in fact, we might even bring you on at the same sort of time. We've got Frankie McAvenny coming on, who I'm named after, who the West Ham legend. So that's my namesake. So he's going to be joining us for about 45 minutes to an hour. So it'll be interesting to ask him some questions as well. And Rory, if you know anyone else who would happily call in for 10 minutes or so on that show on Saturday, it would be absolutely
I definitely do. I mean, gee, I know a few people. We can talk about this off air, but there are a few little things that I can probably give you a bit of a steer on.
Excellent.
But yeah, there's a network of friends that I have in this world that I think would be keen on helping. So you'd be doing them a favour.
Thank you.
We'll talk about it off screen. Brilliant. Thank you so much, chaps. Good luck.
See you later, everyone.
Everybody tuned in. See you later.
Bye bye. Right, so mate, how do you think that went? That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good, mate. We're still live.
Yeah, it was still live. Yeah, just quick
Yeah,
little debrief.
Yeah, top man. Very good. Really appreciate his time. Means the world. Enjoyed the chat. I enjoyed having the chat about Chelsea. I suppose I enjoyed hearing from a Chelsea
I think people
viewer.
loved it from the comments, mate. It's them sort of conversations that sometimes people tiptoe around because they're not willing to get into the nitty gritty. But you know what we're all about, mate. We always like to get into the deep and dirty topics. So yeah, it was fun.
And it's good to hear it from another side, you know, and obviously he's heard from our side how we feel about Frank Lampard, because again, like when I my feelings of him, of what he's become, and you know, not a lot of Chelsea fans, the one man couldn't carry some in a football ground, which is right. But I think many West Ham fans, not just me, obviously, many West Ham fans would turn around and say, you can't knock his ability, what he was as a footballer, and what his career's been, and that deserves respect. And I know it's got mine. But a Chelsea fan, you don't ever think that, because all you think is West Ham fans. Like, mate, the picture I put up with Lampard's fatter than me on my belly, it's all jest. It's not a personal dig. It's jest. You know what I mean? I've never wished Frank Lampard bad. I wouldn't wish any player an injury or anything like that. Do I want to see him do well? Of course I don't, because I don't want to see any other club do well. But I'm not going to sit here and say what a fluke of a career he had, because he didn't. He had a top career for a reason. He is a top, and he was at West Ham, a top pro. And that's why you get the reward you get. Same as the likes of Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, Steven Gerrard. There's reasons them players had the careers they had. And then you got, with respect, that's why someone like Ravel Morrison has had the career he's had. But the talent that boy has got could have had a similar career if he had put football first. And that is his life, and not the so-called life he chose instead. But listen, we all have a choice. Is he wrong for it? Not in his world, and good luck to him. But I believe he's wasted the talent, personally.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. Please do subscribe to the channel.
Let's not forget, we have got...
Do you want to push them, mate? Do you want to quickly do a push for them? Tell us what the prizes are. If you've got them there, show us, and tell us how people get involved.
I've got no prize here, but we have a football card going, £10 a square. Betway, West Ham sponsors, and Alan from Betway has kindly donated a signed squad shirt. £10 a square. The winner will get the signed squad shirt. We've got a prize coming up, which will come after this, on another football card, which is an 80-team square. It's not cheap. It's £25 a square, this next one. But the prize will be 2 tickets when football's back on to any game of your choice in the sponsors lounge, which will include your food, your drink, etc. for the day. In the Betway sponsors lounge, 2 tickets, £25 a square. I don't want to auction it, because unfortunately, when you get into an auction, as soon as you reach a certain amount, it rules out so many people. I want it to be fair. I want everybody to be able to have a chance. I know it's a lot of money, but that 80-team card will raise £2,000. And that £2,000 will make massive changes to Isla in getting her treatment, to the family and helping they can do. So as soon as that's this card's done, we will be getting that out. I've not forgotten to draw a winner for the Declan Rice and Trevor Brooking piece, which sold 52 squares. Nicola's not forgot, as I've just told you about 5 minutes ago. Littleton's having a tough time. The second they're home and the second she's okay, she will do us the video, and one of you will get picked out as random, and we're so grateful for that, for all your support from there and bearing with us while we get this done. But this football card's going out. If you can, hit retweet. We've put it out on Isla's Army. Please hit retweet if you want to square the 10 quid, as I said. And this prize is for a signed squad, home signed squad shirt.
Perfect, mate. Thank you very much. Right, let's wrap it up there. Please all do remember that we will be live on Away Day Radio Saturday, 12 until 2. We will be joined by Rory. We will be joined by Frankie McAvenny, my namesake. I'm so looking forward to that. Ginger Steve is coming on as well, so he is an absolute character. Will be so much fun to have Ginger Steve on as well. We've also got Terry from the Football Terrace to talk about West Ham versus Man United like the other evening. Probably be a very, very short conversation, because that game, not much happened and not much went on at all. However, it'll be interesting to get his opinion.
Can I jump in on this? Mate, while we're talking about West Ham, I've been a critic of David Moyes, and I've said what I haven't seen is ever a plan B during a game. I take my hat off, literally, and show me bald head, to David Moyes for changing that team's second half against Man United, changing the shape, changing the attack mind of the side in that second half. Much better performance. If that man can keep doing that, give him the contract. But I hadn't seen it ever up until that point. So those that pull me out for saying he's got no plan B for me is when you're in game. If only he had done that when we played Liverpool at home, we might have got something out of that game. But I credit him. He made changes at half-time, which everybody went, hey, and it worked. We was a much better team that second half performance. So David Moyes and your coaching staff, fair play.
Top man. So yeah, Away Day Radio, Saturday, 12 until 2. Loads of fundraising going on. Some fantastic guests over there as well. I'm so looking forward to it. So we'll put the link below. But go and tune into awaydayradio.co.uk. There's a massive auction straight after our show as well, which is going to be some fantastic prizes, and all of the things that you can get involved in that auction will be on Away Day Radio's website page. So go over to awaydayradio.co.uk and have a look at everything that's going on over there this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you everyone for getting involved again. Thank you to Rory. What a man. I've been desperate to get him on. He's come on and been absolute. He's an absolute Rolls Royce of a football pundit. So thank you very much to Rory. Any last words, Baz?
No, like you just said, thank you to Rory for joining us for the hour, giving up his time. Really, really appreciate that. Appreciate all the people in the comments and the ones that have subscribed and wished us luck. As you said, mate, at the start, this isn't about us, this channel. This channel is all about helping raise funds for Isla. So if you can subscribe, get the video hours watched, we can get this channel monetized. So that's more money for Isla. If there's anything anybody wants to do, like you've said many times, Frankie, fundraising, this channel's open. Feel free to message us. If you want to sit on here and shave your head off, like your hair off, like Frankie did the other week, do so. And if you want to get sponsored, we will help you promote it. You can do it yourself. But we're here if you need us. We're just grateful for all the support. We just need to get this little girl what she deserves. And the only way we get that is sticking together. Together, we're stronger.
See you later, everyone.
And I haven't got COVID, by the way.
We'll end on that note.